What is up, everyone? We are finally back with you. It is December 3rd. It's been a long time since we've...
It's about damn time, dude.
Yeah, we were supposed to have something up for you guys. We know we tweeted out, for those who follow, that we were going to put up separate episodes.
Yeah.
And you know what? You guys want to know what happened there? Well, so it led off with Luke's episode that he had planned, and he actually did, but he did it live on his Instagram.
Yep.
And didn't save the video because it was live. And then
let's
Zane,
just not talk about the other part.
Zane and I did it, and we had technical problems. We'll just leave it at that. And we actually did a full-on, like, an hour-long episode, and couldn't upload it.
Yeah. Darby didn't have any audio, so that's kind of a major issue. But I'm finally out of quarantine, thank Christ. That was annoying as hell, and I'm just ready to talk some football. I mean, the college football playoff rankings are finally out. We're in the second week of that. What is your take, dude?
I'm disappointed.
I can.
Now, not for the same reasons that a lot of, from what I've read, I don't know what to call them, followers of college football. A lot of people are mad about the BYU situation.
Well, yeah.
I'm personally not.
Well, I can understand why, because they're an undefeated team that has... Yeah, their strength of schedule hasn't been the greatest, but they have...
Well, it's not. It hasn't been the greatest.
They've demolished.
It's terrible. Though.
They've demolished everybody. They're an undefeated team, and I mean, I think the fact that the Pac-12 kind of fucked them over by denying the Washington game.
Has that been confirmed that Pac-12
That's
declined it?
That's what I'm fairly certain, because they said they were going to keep everything in conference. That they would, if a game was canceled, they would try to reschedule with an in-conference opponent. That's what the leading theory out there seems to be right now.
Yeah, even still though, their solution not really a solution. I guess you play who you can play, but playing Coastal Carolina to me doesn't do too much, in my opinion, for the rest of... Because Coastal Carolina is that same situation. They're an undefeated team, but their strength of schedule is terrible. It's not that it's not like... It's different from I understood the arguments that UCF, even though I didn't agree with them getting in at the time because of the teams that were ahead of them, like an American Conference team. If that American Conference team is undefeated and dominating, I feel like that resume is way stronger than...
Yeah, I mean...
than an independent that's played, like, their literal toughest opponent was Boise State.
Yeah, I mean, and I understand that. And the American is the closest group of five to a power conference, to a Power 5 conference.
You could argue, and
it's better than the Big 12.
I don't know. I'm still hesitant on the Big 12, I want to say, because I'm more on the Pac-12. Dude.
Yeah.
I think the Pac-12 is worse than the Big 12.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll find out. But my thing is I'm not going to blame BYU for their current schedule, because I know what their schedule was supposed to be. They had, I think, 6 or 7 Power 5 conference opponents originally scheduled before the COVID situation started. Including Washington, Minnesota, Arizona. There were multiple Power 5 conference opponents in there. So I'm not going to put the blame on BYU. Obviously, they've played who they've had available. I would like to see them play another, more tough opponent in terms of, strength of schedule. But I'm not going to put them on that. My issue lie in the committee is really showing their Power 5 bias. And not just with the disrespect to BYU, but Georgia, Iowa State,
Georgia and Iowa State in 9 and 8 spots.
Oklahoma back up to 11.
It's amazing to me. They're trying to keep the Big 12 relevant to put an argument against
and
Cincinnati
the
going undefeated.
Georgia should not be sniffing the top 10. The Georgia should be down at a 13 range, in my opinion. Maybe into the 11 range, but Miami should be above Georgia and Iowa State. Personally, I think Indiana and BYU could make an argument for that. Now, Indiana did just lose Michael Penix Jr. for the season.
But you can only go off the body of work that's happened so far in the season.
And they have a very interesting game up against Wisconsin this week.
Mm-hmm.
But my biggest gripes with the committee is why those two teams in particular, Georgia and Iowa State, should not be as high as they are. Period.
Well, you look at it like you could. What's funny is you could make, even though I don't agree with it at all, you could make the case for Georgia based off who they've lost to.
Yes.
Iowa State, on the other hand,
no.
I know we love them.
Yeah.
But that loss at the beginning of the season to Louisiana, having that as one of your losses, and to sit here and tell me that they are better than Miami, whose only losses to at the time, the number 1 team in the country.
Well, it doesn't matter at the time or not.
But, now the current number 3 team in the country, at the time, the number Clemson. 1 team.
Their only loss is to Clemson.
And granted, it was a horrible loss. We were not competitive in that game. But still, that was our only loss.
Yes. I mean...
But I don't want to make this I'm not just griping about the... I just don't understand the Georgia... I don't understand what they're basing their...
The logic.
Logic around.
What's the logic? And that's always kind of been the gripe with the committee is they aren't the most transparent with the logic of how they place these teams.
No, they kind of just leave it to we can just tell.
Yes.
Which they can make the argument. I mean, they've done it with Ohio State, keeping Ohio State there. But we all... I mean, it's not just a committee. We all know what Ohio State is.
Well, and they go very heavy on the eye test, as we know. But, again, I always fall back on those teams like... Well, Miami just got kind of fucked by their own conference. But the teams like Cincinnati, they're in a fortunate situation where most of at least 2 teams... Well, 3 teams ahead of them, at the bare minimum, are going to have another loss.
Yeah, I mean... Florida, Texas A&M, and then because Florida plays Bama, and would play potentially in the
that would be the SEC championship.
So you've got your guarantee between Florida, Texas A&M, and Bama. Those 3 teams all at some point are going to have to play each other.
Yep. Now the only
and then
thing,
Clemson and Notre Dame.
The only thing I see is I don't think A&M has another. Like potential.
They play
loss.
Auburn next, and I believe that's their next toughest. That's their only tough game.
That's the only tough game. But I don't think the committee would put in, even if it's only a 1 loss, a team that didn't even make the conference championship game.
No, based off the teams ahead. Ahead of them. I mean, no, I don't think a 1-loss A&M team with their resume because they don't have. I don't think they have like a marquee win. They're only like what would have been their marquee win. They got blown out by Alabama. Actually, they beat Florida.
Yeah, they did beat Florida, and that is Florida's only loss. And then A&M's only loss is a blowout to Bama.
I just don't know if it's enough. Which we can get to that later because we're gonna come back to the college football playoff.
Well, so you don't want to quite go into that yet?
Not just yet.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to hop off the playoff rankings for a little bit.
Okay.
Because I've been wanting to really talk about what's going on with the Big Ten.
Okay.
Where's my? It's kind of a big talk right now around the college football world because if you really listen to the college football world, a lot of them are trying to say that there's a good chance Ohio State doesn't play a game the rest of the year. I know the Michigan State game's on as of now, but you're looking at 2 very high COVID situations there between Michigan as a state. I don't know Michigan State's situation. But Ohio State just had their breakout.
Well, Ohio State just had their breakout. Michigan, it just came out in the Detroit Free Press that apparently they're dealing with 12 COVID cases in-house, but again, don't quite understand. There's been some speculation that they're trying to leak that information to kind of get themselves out of hot water in terms of people in the college football community saying that they're ducking Ohio State. And another rumor I heard, if the Michigan game doesn't happen, and this would piss off a lot of people, including Ohio State fans because of the hypocrisy of the Big Ten, but they're speculating that BYU may be a possible opponent for Ohio State in that as a filler for the game.
I don't think they would do it though. I don't think the Big Ten would do it.
I don't think so either, but the Big Ten's going to have to give on one of their... Either they're going to have to go back on their word and allow Ohio State to schedule an out of conference, or they're going to have to go back on their rule about the 6-game minimum.
And that's where my prediction is I think if I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think Ohio State plays another game. I think that this game's going to end up getting postponed.
Well,
and then I'm almost 98% sure that Michigan's not playing a game for the rest of the year.
And I agree with you on that one, and this is why. There's a lot of smoke coming out of the Michigan program. You have rumors of parents leading a meeting with the coaching staff telling them that they want the season shut down, that since the team is dog shit and they have no chance at winning, they don't want to risk their son's health in terms of coronavirus.
Which is fair.
You have players just straight up quitting on John Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim Harbaugh. My bad. Wrong.
Coaching the Ravens.
Yeah. And this was just released on 97.1 The Fan here in Columbus. The Mike Valenti show said that there are rumors going around that Michigan quarterback Joe Milton, in the middle of the Rutgers game, was very disgruntled, and he was telling teammates during the game that he was going to transfer out of Michigan and drop 50 on Jim Harbaugh and Michigan. Like, from personal connections, I know there is a lot of tension for Michigan players.
Between the players and the coaches.
Yes, and that the environment is not a healthy environment at all, just from the connections that I have personally. And you can see it in all the news coming out. You can see it on the field. It looks like the players have quit on the coaching staff.
I mean, it's sad, isn't it?
It is.
Because I understand, I hate Michigan just from growing up in Ohio, and I know Ohio State fans hate Michigan. And yes, while it is sweet to be like,
sign him to a life contract.
It's a fine line because you love to see it and you hate to see it at the same time because
you want your rival to be relevant.
Yes. It's the same, down in Florida.
Like, you want to kick their ass every year, and don't get me wrong, I love watching them get their shit stomped, but
it's just this whole situation's sad to see. I mean, a great classic college football program, just
it's another blue blood, man.
Deteriorate. I mean, it's rapidly.
Texas, USC went downhill quick there for a couple years. I mean,
it's just ugly what's going on there. It's sad. But
yeah.
Honestly, and if I'm being honest, the whole Big Ten's kind of meh to me this year.
And that's what's you want to. I'm going to relay this back to the college football rankings. Yes, the Big Ten it's not a good season for the Big Ten at all.
What's going on with Penn State and Michigan? Like, that's really hurting the Big Ten.
And yet, the Big Ten has most ranked in the top 25 of any conference.
Do they really?
The Big Ten has the most teams ranked in the top 25 of any conference.
That's really shocking to me, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's really shocking to me. I just think it has to do with them being, having all that time off, that the committee's really showing that they don't really care about the time taken off, that they're just going to keep jumping these teams up rapidly. I mean, look at Indiana before they lost to Ohio State, how they climbed from... I mean, I wouldn't even know what to have placed them as a preseason ranking.
No, I mean...
You know what I mean? Well, so all the way to 10th in 2 weeks.
Nobody could predict what was going to happen with the Big Ten. I mean, we've touched on my Big Ten predictions from the preseason a couple of times throughout the season. And, I mean, I feel like I did a decent job with those, but there are some really big, like, Minnesota,
Penn I left out Minnesota.
Michigan State being as bad as they are, Rutgers being as competitive as they are, Indiana being as competitive as they were, Northwestern being as competitive as they were, Wisconsin just looking like a freight train if they didn't have the COVID issues. I think if Wisconsin didn't run into all the COVID issues, they'd be another potential top 10, top 5 team right now. So there's been a lot of it's just been a mess. It's been a dumpster fire in the Big Ten this year, man.
Well, and jumping off that, looking at another, not really a mess, but just with a conference situation, and you look at the ACC and what it just changed its rules, which, because I didn't finish where I was going to go off, was my prediction of Ohio State not playing a game the rest of this year. I think the Big Ten is going to change its rules and allow Ohio State to play, because it's a different situation when you're looking at a team that, even though will have only played 4 games, they're undefeated.
Yeah.
They're top 5.
Yeah.
There's no reason to not allow Ohio State to play in your conference. They're your conference's only hope.
College football is a business, and the Big Ten has to make a business decision. The college football playoff brings in so much revenue, not just for the team that makes it in, but for the conference as a whole and the other schools.
Yeah, believe me, the other Big Ten schools, as much as you want to, that competitive spirit of wanting to play your teams, you want somebody to be in there representing your conference.
And Barry Alvarez came out and said it himself.
Yes, yeah, and I wanted to bring that up. I mean, he himself said that he would expect and hope that the Big Ten changes its rule to allow specifically Ohio State to play in the conference championship against what would look like to be Northwestern.
I mean, if Ohio State doesn't, you have a one-loss Indiana team who lost to Ohio State with their starting quarterback, who now has lost that starting quarterback.
There's no argument to be made against it. There's no what's the word I'm looking for here? There's
no alternative.
It's not alternative. There's no no teams. It's not like TCU back in 2014 where there was that. Well, we should have gotten in.
Yeah.
There's none of that, because the only other option had lost to Ohio State.
Yeah.
So there's not going to be that. No, we should have gotten in, because Indiana, and I mean, I would hope and have enough respect that their fan base would be like, they beat us fair and square.
Yeah.
It was a good game. We put up a fight at the end, but we lost. They should go into the Big Ten championship over us.
And what's actually funny is, stemming from the Barry Alvarez comments, there is now a push from Big Ten faithful that he replaced Kevin Warren as the Big Ten commissioner.
I think anybody. I think if you go roam the streets of Columbus and just go under a bridge somewhere and just go find a guy and be like, hey, we got a job opening. That's all your sign. We got a job opening. Just come and get it. It's yours for the taking.
Yeah, but
got the seat warm for you.
I mean, well, let's get back to the ACC. Your team got royally kind of fucked by this.
It fucks us, but at the same time, not too much. There was a very slim chance that Miami could find itself in the ACC championship game, and I will say that the only my concern, or my quarrel with for those that don't know, the ACC changed its rules that ACC teams can only play 9 games total now. So pretty much all the teams are axing a game this year for the rest of the year, because we all had 2 games left. So only playing this next week, and that's it. Well, actually, they said that, but I haven't heard anything about what's going to go on with Miami and North Carolina, because we're still scheduled to play. So I don't know what's going to go on. Who knows anymore with how this whole season's going. But so what that literally does is, Notre Dame's a shoo-in now. I mean, Notre Dame locks the college football playoff. I'm all over the place.
Championship.
An ACC championship berth. And then Clemson, with a win at Virginia Tech, locks their spot to face Notre Dame in a rematch. So pretty much what the ACC did was solidified at least one spot in the college football playoff, and sets himself up very good for
a potential
two team to get in.
But my issue with that isn't, I mean, they made this right business move. Like I said, college football is a business. But I think it would have been awesome if, Miami had an open week, Notre Dame had an open week, put Miami...
The fans wanted it, man.
Put Miami against Notre Dame and see what happens. If Notre Dame wins, I think they would be expected to win that game. They would be favored in that game. Then they just earn themselves. But I think it would risk too much in terms of the college football playoff.
Yeah. I just think, to me, that it's more of a 3-team race than people thought before this rule change. And there was one simple outlier to solving that, to making it a clear cut, these are the 2 best teams, let them play each other again. Was that the fact that Miami and Notre Dame did not play each other this year. We're not scheduled, we've all wanted it, man. We wanted this from day one to play Notre Dame.
Catholics and convicts.
And we had the opening. It would have been a great move for them to get the ACC back in the spotlight
especially on
again.
a week.
On a week, yeah. I mean, game day back with Miami.
The only solid game on this slate of games is the Coastal Carolina BYU game.
Yeah, and I just think that it would have helped the that 3-team race that's going on, but instead of doing that, they did what's going to help the conference overall. And like I said, we all want our conference represented in the playoff, but to have your that's the difference in a rule change between the ACC and the Big Ten, like the potential Big Ten rule change, is we already know the Ohio State beat Indiana. That's done.
Yeah.
Let's put Ohio State in there. Then you got this where it's Miami hasn't played Notre Dame at all.
Yeah.
Why not either get them to play each other or let them play their full slate, and then put the teams in.
But then I have to give props to the ACC for being willing to go out and make the rule change that would be in the best interest of the conference as a whole, as opposed to the Big Ten being stubborn as fuck and not adjusting to the times, not changing the protocols and everything that they put in place, like the 21 days, where even now the CDC is saying, hey, you're only going to have to do 7 to 10 days quarantine. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, the ACC is willing to adjust their protocol and the rule set for this fucky season that we have, and the Big Ten is just being stubborn and not doing it.
And we'll see what happens if they stay that way, or if with what could potentially happen again. Ohio State might play this week play. I mean, even it doesn't even matter because I highly doubt Michigan plays a game. Even if Ohio State plays Michigan State this week.
Yeah, I think the Michigan State game will happen. I don't think the Michigan game will happen.
It's gonna be interesting. I feel like the ACC changing its rules is really gonna help Ohio State, because I think that's gonna also see the Big Ten change their rules.
And they've already started looking into it as well.
So I think having a conference like with the ACC leading that charge on we're being flexible.
Yeah.
We're being flexible. You guys gave us Duke. We could have solved this issue, but whatever. You're helping out Notre Dame, but it's cool. I'll keep my shit talk away.
You know what they're trying to do? They're trying to be nice to Notre Dame to try to lure them into sticking into the ACC.
They won't.
No, they won't. But that's what I think that's what the
and it's going to look really bad on us next year when Notre Dame leaves and they literally the only season that they came in they won the ACC.
I know. Could you imagine if they actually won it and then just folded? I don't think they will either.
So we'll move on, and because actually it jumps into what something I was going to say. But I want to know what's your biggest surprise of this college football? Whether it's team player, what's your biggest surprise so far that's happened? Because this has been a wild year.
It really has.
So it's going to be a tough one tough question.
So there have been a couple things that have really surprised me. The first part would be how competent and competitive the group of 5 teams have looked. I think from the very jump, they looked really good, obviously, with the Sun Belt coming out and almost taking 4 games off of the Big 12. Another surprise would be just how poor the Big 12 as a whole has performed, with the teams at the top of that conference being the ones to drop games to Sun Belt conference teams. But my biggest surprise has got to be it's a combination, Penn State and Michigan. How weak the Big Ten East has been.
Yeah.
How flipped on its head it's been. I mean, it's
looking at a reverse of what the Big Ten usually is.
Yeah,
it's always been the Big East is a freaking loaded side.
You go back to 2014 to 2016, 2017. Who are the top 5 teams in the Big Ten
as a whole?
As a whole, your top 5 teams: Ohio State, Wisconsin, Penn State, Michigan, Michigan State.
Yep. Only one isn't in the Big Ten East.
Yes. Now, 3 of those Big 5 from the Big Ten as a whole
are at the bottom.
Are bottom feeders.
Yep.
Because you go back 2014, Ohio State in the playoff. Was it 2015 or 2016? Michigan State was in the playoff.
I believe it was 2015 because I think it was the year right after Ohio State won the Natty.
Yeah, because it was because
Michigan
that
State
was the
won.
year the backup quarterback came in and Chris Fry got the win in Columbus and he.
Yeah, shout out Grove City boy.
Yep, love you, Chris. Just got his realtor's license, by the way.
Hey, congratulations, man! If you ever see this, you probably won't. But
go Ticats. But anyway, it's fucking surprising. It's we've been talking about it kind of all year, just how completely flipped on its head is. We talked about Rutgers actually being competent, Indiana being really good, and Northwestern being really good. Purdue has been kind of a letdown with Rondale Moore coming back.
You haven't said your big letdown. You still haven't said them. Minnesota.
Yeah.
That's your big letdown because we were.
Yeah.
Because I just like
can we just not talk about that?
Just like I got them to sip the juice before the Miami Clemson game. I mean, this dude got me to guzzle down the freaking jug for Minnesota before the year, and I kind of piggyback my predictions on Minnesota or the Big Ten off him, and
I don't want to.
Thanks, man.
I don't want
because what did I say? I was like Northwestern. I was like I'm really high on Northwestern, but
so
your predictions swayed me into being Minnesota. After I kept saying that, I said it as I was like, I think Minnesota's gonna do it. I'm like, but they've lost a lot, and we don't know what they really are. If they were a 1-year wonder.
Pulse let me down.
And then here I go.
Pulse let me down.
I know that's so much of an insider that people don't understand, but look up Rainbow Six Siege, the character Pulse, and then look up a picture of PJ Fleck. Same person. I swear to God. I think that's his secret side job. Is he does the modeling.
He couldn't find the fucking heartbeat for his team.
And so, you know what my biggest surprise is, and I'm gonna kind of go away from
what we've been talking about.
Kind of. What would people's the popular pick would be for like a surprise? Because typically people take the Cinderella stories and stuff like that.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like a BYU, things like that of that nature.
I wouldn't think that would be much of a surprise.
Well, no, not with their schedule.
Yeah.
Their placing and how the arguments that I know they're trying to push them harder than they really are. Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I actually today
the perennial letdown.
Today because I was thinking about making this a look back on our predictions before the season started, but I ended up deciding that I wanted to wait until after the season was over before we did something like that. But when I was looking back and look, it's part hatred. Okay, I can tell you that if you're not a Notre Dame fan, everybody hates Notre Dame. But we really railroaded Notre Dame before the season started. Zane, one of my favorite things he said was he thought that Notre Dame was going to be towards the bottom of the ACC.
Yeah.
Legitimately. I didn't think they were going to be towards the bottom. I thought that they were going to be kind of fall into that middling category, somewhere where like North Carolina is right now.
And let me justify that. Because I thought that I was buying into a little bit to the ACC hype. I thought, Virginia Tech was going to be a really competitive team. North Carolina was going to be a really solid team. Duke is always that sleeper team that can surprise people. Miami, I thought was going to be there to challenge Clemson. You had Clemson in there. You have some Virginia is always a tough team. So I thought that those teams, the quality of play would be that little bit level higher. And I thought that Notre Dame would be upset playing as competitive of a schedule as I thought it would have been. So that was my reasoning for that. But
and it wasn't too far off because if you look, I like to remind people that this is Notre Dame team barely snuck by Louisville.
Yeah.
I think they only won by 6 points.
Yeah.
I think it was 12-6, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's go back.
They can only put 12 points up on against Louisville, and which
12-7.
12-7. I proceeded to railroad them after that. Mainly, I railroaded them because the college football ranking, the AP did not budge on them. Actually, they moved up 2 spots, I think. But regardless of how I feel, in my personal opinion, they beat Clemson my personal opinion, I think I've talked about the fact that I thought I put more of the blame on the defense of Clemson. I do think that if Trevor Lawrence was playing, that Clemson would have won that game. Yeah. Mainly from not just because, look, I get it. They have a 5-star backup. He was a top quarterback prospect.
Experience.
Get it. Well, not even just experience. Leader.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence is undoubtedly the leader of Clemson. Outside of Dabo Swinney, of course. He's the leader of that team. He's the voice. There's just no question. The players look to him. That's their leader. I feel like that really made, because Notre Dame barely squeaked by without Clemson's best player at home. Barely squeaked by in overtime. But regardless, you guys won it. And
I'm excited to see the championship game.
I'm excited to see the rematch. I'll get to that in a second. I just, kudos, as hard as it is for me to say. I still hate you guys for that freaking tweet you guys did.
Yeah.
I thought that was insanely disrespectful because you guys would not be playing college football right now without the ACC. So think about that later. So anyway, college football playoff prediction.
Okay.
This is something I wanted to talk because we're I believe it's only been 2 rankings that they put out.
This is the second one.
So we gave it a couple to see how they were going to be playing what their formula would look like, what we're looking at, this year, if they were going to give more attention to the group of 5 before we started coming out and talking about our personal predictions for the college football playoffs. So I want to hear, and you can start in whatever order, but I want to hear number, like what seed. Okay. And we're locking it in right now.
So I'm going to do what I would like to see, but
you gotta.
I know.
Well, give me your lock and then come back around with it.
Okay, so
this is what I would love to see.
So I'm going to give you reasonings as well. I think Bama demolishes Florida in the SEC championship game. I think Florida will put up a fight for the first half or 2.5 quarters, but Bama will really start to separate late into the third quarter and into the fourth. Bama is my 1 seed. Okay. Clemson comes in, and I think they dog Notre Dame in the ACC championship. I can't say dog. I think it'll be at least a 14-point game. Mm-hmm. Okay. So Clemson is my number 2 team. Ohio State, I think, will stay at... See, this is where I get torn. Because I don't know how the committee would rate the Texas A&M 1-loss SEC school. I think it would probably be Ohio State 3, A&M 4 is what I think they would do.
So you're taking Bama, Clemson, Ohio State, A&M.
That's what I think they will do. Now, what I would like to see, and this is just purely for, hell is real, Battle of Ohio.
An Ohio State versus Cincinnati matchup.
Bama 1, Ohio State 2. No. Fuck, that wouldn't work. Damn it. That breaks my heart. Ohio State would have to be 1 for that to work. That breaks my heart.
Well, I mean, there's still a possibility that they put Cincinnati at 4.
I know, but Cincinnati is not going to beat
Clemson. At 3.
Or Bama. All right, so my pipe dream is to get an Ohio State-Cincinnati matchup in the playoffs. It wouldn't work, but honestly, I think A&M, they will get in if Bama demolishes Florida. If Florida keeps it close, I think Florida will get in because their only loss is to A&M, and they hung close with Bama. I also could see if Notre Dame keeps it close with Bama, it's staying exactly how it is, just Notre Dame being 3 and Clemson being 2. Fuck. Did I already put in my lock? I don't like that fourth. The top 3 is easy, but that 4th spot, I think it really could be either of those 3, Notre Dame, Florida or A&M just with how the committee is rolling with it. But I really just don't know how to gauge those three, man.
If it makes you feel any better, like usual, I'm gonna rock the boat. So, with mine.
Are you going Cincinnati?
So no, I'm gonna really rock the boat.
You're going OU?
You ready for this shit?
You're going OU.
No, I'm not. I'm not going that crazy. Listen here.
Well, then what the fuck out there is that?
So I'll preface this with the conference championships. What I'm predicting on the conference championships. All right. So for one, Ohio State, I think that their rules are going to get changed, and I think Ohio State's going to go to the Big Ten championship, win against Northwestern, and that'll lock them in.
Okay.
Because I think if Ohio State goes to the Big Ten championship, wins the Big Ten championship, that's a lock.
Yes.
They're not keeping Ohio State out. They've shown. Ohio State hasn't budged in the rankings almost virtually since day one. 2, ACC matchup. I think Clemson. I'm agreeing with you. I think this being a revenge game, having Trevor Lawrence back, barring unless there's a COVID situation. This is without. I'm just going to throw that out. No COVID situation. This is pure.
Yes. Football.
Pure football. Trevor Lawrence back. Revenge game, because trust me, Clemson believes in those, especially when they're being doubted. I think they put a beat down on Notre Dame in the ACC championship game. SEC championship game. I'm sticking with my preseason.
You're going Florida.
Yes. I think they've been insanely hot, too.
They have. Kyle Trask is playing
He's
like a Heisman winner.
5 or 6 touchdowns every freaking game,
My
dude.
only concern is their defense.
Yes, but at the same time, if it comes to a shootout,
yeah,
I seriously have more faith in Florida's offense in a shootout than I do in Alabama's. I think Kyle Trask is a better quarterback than Mac Jones.
I would agree with that.
And I think Kyle Pitts is a better weapon than Alabama has.
I think Kyle Pitts is the most versatile weapon in college football.
Well, here, because I've been on the Brevin Jordan hype train. Kyle Pitts is the best player in football right now.
Yes.
If there wasn't such quarterback bias, he should win the Heisman this year. But there's quarterback bias.
And it's the best quarterback on the best team is who wins the Heisman.
With that in mind, I got Ohio State number 1.
Whoa!
Yep. So I think if Ohio State goes out, takes care of business in the Big Ten championship, and Alabama loses to Florida,
Clemson would.
And then Clemson beats Notre Dame, I think Ohio State would do it.
I don't see the committee ever putting Ohio State at 1 with only 6 games played. When you have Clemson sitting there, I can't see that. Even with my Ohio State bias, I don't see it.
I think that them being undefeated, and I honestly personally feel that Ohio State would dominate their Big Ten championship game.
Yeah,
I dominate it. And at that point,
Wisconsin.
And at that point, Northwestern's probably going to be closer to the top 10 going into that game, I would assume.
Well,
with how the rankings are probably going to naturally.
Well, Indiana's going to lose this week.
With all the teams that are going to lose. I mean, Iowa State's probably,
Iowa State, Oklahoma.
And they're going to jump rankings up, too, to benefit. Yeah. Just off how the freaking rankings have been going. But, number 2, Clemson.
Okay.
Is who I had. And this is where I'm...
You're going 3 Florida,
3
and then
Florida,
Cincy.
4 Bama.
Bama, okay.
Because, look, if
you aren't going to keep
They're
Bama
not
out.
going to keep Alabama out. Because it comes down to that situation that I laid out is almost like a worst case scenario for that committee.
Yeah.
But the problem is you look at the fallback. Well, Alabama's a number 1 team in the country. If they go out, it wouldn't even matter. Honestly, it wouldn't even matter if they got their asses. It wouldn't matter if that game was like 65-14. Alabama's in the playoffs,
and they aren't. They would structure the rankings so that Florida and Bama would not have an immediate rematch.
We saw it in 2017.
Yeah.
Alabama shouldn't have been in the playoffs that year. They won it.
Yeah.
It's just like Ohio State
shouldn't have been in,
but they won it.
Yeah.
It's the same situation. Well, that situation is. So that's my That's my ranking. I know you don't, you could sway me on the. You are right in a sense that Ohio State's lack of games they've played. That I could see Ohio State probably
and the competition
realistically.
And who has Ohio State played other than Northwestern and Indiana?
And you can make the argument the Indiana win is
I don't know.
I still don't know what I think about Indiana, but I'll never know now that Penix is hurt.
My thing is I never see Ohio State jumping Clemson, unless Clemson were to lose again. If Clemson were to lose to Notre Dame again, that's the only way I see Ohio State jumping Clemson. So,
that's fair.
But I
regardless, that's my feeling.
I think that is I really like that scenario. And
I think it's almost
just because I love the chaos.
I think it's almost a lock, and this because it's funny that I say this, and it goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning of our podcast when we first started this. Was you guys were really talking about the the group of 5 getting into a playoff spot this year, and I kept saying and we've been seeing things are falling apart. In the Power 5, you're looking at what I was talking about. Yeah. I think it almost locks in your 2 SEC spot. It does. I mean, look at that, dude. Look at the top 6. Half the top 6 are SEC schools.
Okay, let me throw this at you. Next year, do they implement a 18 playoff?
I don't think so.
I think they do.
Have they talked about when they're going to look at?
They talked about it briefly, but I think next year, especially with undefeated BYU, if they beat Coastal, an undefeated Cincinnati, I think that they'll look at it and be like, okay, the landscape is starting to get more competitive. From social media impressions, they know a majority of fans would like an expanded playoff. So you look at it from a revenue standpoint, it would bring in a shit ton more revenue. You can still incorporate the bowl games into it. I think that next year we'll see an 18 playoff.
That's what I want. I think an 18 playoff is perfect. I don't want something too crazy.
Yeah, I know. You know how I feel about it.
I know. We talked about it before. I just don't know if it comes that soon. I think it's inevitable.
Well, I mean, you look at...
It's an inevitable thing. They're going to have to increase it.
Look what happened the year before they went to the playoff format. Do you remember what...
Dude, I try to pretend the BCS era just never existed. So,
2013. The Florida State, Auburn. So you had a shit ton of one-loss teams. You had the UCF sitting at 1 loss. You had Michigan State sitting at 1 loss. That was the oof year for Ohio State, where we dropped. Well, not quite the oof year, but we dropped 2 games. One of them to Michigan State, and was it Penn State? The other?
I don't know.
I don't remember, but. Yeah, that year was a fucking mess, and you had so many teams that could have made a bid for that spot in the national championship game. And that's what prompted, because you had the only team being undefeated was Florida State, and then you had Auburn, Michigan State, South Carolina was right in there, Oklahoma was in there, Bama was in there, Clemson, Oregon, UCF, Ohio State with 2 losses. You had everybody was beating everybody, and you didn't have all of the undefeateds, and that was the year that they're like, we need to add more spots so we don't have to make that fucking tight decision that we made.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I think it's inevitable. I don't know about that soon. I just don't, because I think that playoff, I feel like that was probably in the works longer than people realize behind the scenes. I think that they were in the process of switching that.
Well, yeah, because you're talking about a complete format change. Adding 4 teams is not that big of a change to make. That would be a rather simple. You just incorporate the all of the New Year's 6 games and then add 2 higher tier bowl games to the mix. And congratulations, you've done it. Maybe expand it to encompass, instead of just both semifinals happening on or the same day, you do quarterfinals, 2 games each on consecutive days, like a Friday, Saturday, and then the next weekend you do the semifinals, and then go into the championship. I don't think it'd be that difficult to make the structure change.
Okay. Well, I think that all it leaves left to talk about are our big three teams. We all three should be playing this week.
Yeah.
Should be. Hopefully. Miami hasn't played in 3 weeks. Ohio State hasn't played in 2.
Yeah.
We'll start off with Cincinnati.
Because I was about to just toss them because somebody didn't show up.
Yeah, it's funny because I know I got messages from them. I just haven't been able to check the phone. But they play Tulsa, and this is kind of a sneaky game.
Yes, and this scenario that we're about to get into is what I think is probably going to prevent them from having a shot to get into the playoff.
Yeah. Last week they played and beat UCF. Mm-hmm. Which was a solid win. I mean, it was 36-33. Yeah.
Tight game.
But still a solid win. I mean, UCF is the perennial dominant team of the American.
Yeah.
So far. But Tulsa, a top 25 team, they look stronger than I think people realize.
Yeah.
Because I know when you think American, you think Cincinnati, Memphis, UCF. But Tulsa's looking good this year.
Their only loss is Oklahoma State.
Yeah. And that's saying something.
And that was week 1.
Yeah.
16-7 was their only loss.
So if Luke was here, I'm sure he'd be
nervous.
I don't know, man. We'd probably have to prod him along to pick Cincinnati to win the game.
But
I
mean, I don't think that's actually going to be a challenging game. They do still have to play Navy first, but I think they'll go out and dominate Navy. Yeah.
I mean, come on, BYU.
Yeah.
If BYU could dismantle them, I'm sure Tulsa would be fine.
But
so
that's another team that I think hasn't gotten enough respect. And
you
rankings.
can make arguments for a lot of teams this year, but I just think the COVID situation and no out of game. We're gonna get sucked back into it.
This is where I think the situation gets sticky for Cincinnati. Okay, so no matter what happens in this game, these two teams are going to play again in the American Conference Championship.
Right after.
Very next
week. Which
week.
should be like the very next week, but we'll see what happens.
So, most football fans should know, well, sports fans in general, it is very, very difficult to beat the same team in back-to-back weeks. Mm-hmm. To beat them twice in back-to-back weeks is
it's hard twice in a year, let alone right back-to-back.
So that is it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. Cincinnati's going to have come in with two completely different both teams are going to have to come in with two completely different game plans, because for the first game you're going to have to go in, the other team's going to get a read on what you're doing. They're going to make their adjustments. You're going to have to make your adjustments. You cannot go into the second game with that same game plan because they have already made the adjustments for what your schemes are, what your plan is. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to go in with something completely different. Now, it's still going to have to be your style and your type of game, but you're going to have to adjust, your tendencies, what your run-pass balance is, what kind of plays you're running, and everything. So what is going to give one team the edge over the other is just going to be straight up. It's going to be coaching. Mm-hmm. The better coaching staff is that team, whoever coaches the better, or whatever team has the better coaching staff, that's the team that's going to win that second game.
Yep.
And that's it. Like, that's how it is.
Well, so we'll stick to this week for now, because we're definitely going to be revisiting this because it's inevitable that they're going to play each other again. Who you got this week?
This week I have Cincinnati.
Okay.
I think Desmond Ridder has been hot. Now, Smith, is his first name Zach? I think it is. Zach Smith. He's been having a hell of a year on his own. 60% completion, 1,200 yards, 10 touchdowns. But he has 6 interceptions. That touchdown-interception ratio, it's positive, but it's not the best ratio. Yeah. So,
of course, we don't know if they're a passing team or if they're
Well, I mean,
he's only got 1,000 or a little over 1,000 yards passing, so I'm gonna guess this is a run team.
Well, their leading rusher only has 356 yards.
Yeah, but they might be running by committee at the same time.
Well, let's let's take a gander.
Well, their yards passing, damn it, Zane.
What? I'm going to the stats.
It was right there for the taking.
Team stats. Net passing yards 1,500, rushing yards 988 rushing yards.
Okay, so it's what I'm hearing is maybe defense, because this offense just sounds borderline bad.
They don't have the team kicking
because they played almost a full season.
Yeah,
and those numbers are not good.
No. Defense. Let's look at the turnovers. So, what we got? Interceptions, 6 interceptions, and 7 fumble recoveries. So they're getting a decent amount of turnovers. But you look at their schedule, they gave up 16 to Oklahoma State, gave up 26 to UCF, gave up 13 to South Florida, 30 to East Carolina.
They're not bad. That's not a bad defensive performance. Oh wait, never mind. They've only played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games.
Yeah, they're 5-1.
Okay, never mind. But that's not too bad.
I mean, still, it seems like they're a pretty balanced team, but they rely on their defense to. Because it's not like they're putting up god tier numbers on offense, you know.
Yeah. Well, so you got Cincinnati winning this week. I've also got Cincinnati this week. Luke would have Cincinnati winning this week. My thing I wanted to talk about, and wish Luke was here, even though he'd hate the question. Luke Fickle. What do you think? What are you thinking?
In terms of what? Like, in terms of the championship game? Yeah, I think he's want to coach his team to the end. Or are you talking postseason?
Yes. Because then it's already out there, man. There's a lot of interest for him.
There is a lot of interest for him. My thing is I don't think the right job is. He's not going to leave Cincinnati for
Purdue,
just your mid-tier Power 5 team.
He wants a big job.
Yes, he wants the job with prestige. Do I think he ends up at Michigan? No. Do I think he ends up at Texas? No. South Carolina? No. I don't think there's any job openings in this cycle that will entice him. I think he stays at Cincinnati. He, like Luke said, he just signed that big extension. He likes the city. His family's there. It's close to Columbus where his full family's at. I think he stays at Cincinnati for the time being. Now, if a major position opens up, like say there's a big time retirement or something happening, I could see him moving on to a big time program in the next few years.
Well, I got a program that, I mean, I know the fans have wanted him gone for years. I've always said I don't like him as a coach.
Auburn.
Yeah. What about Auburn? You think that's a big enough job for him to...
I think it would be enticing. Now, here's another question for you. Say, I got an eyelash in my eye and it's bugging the hell out of me. When is the next realignment for the conferences?
I think it's for another couple years. I think it's a little while out.
He's extended until 2026.
Yeah, but
okay. So just hear out my crazy conspiracy theory.
What do you think? He's gonna stay? Cincinnati goes to the Big Ten, and then he sits there and he tries to build a Big Ten power. I don't think so, because I'm a firm believer, and I don't care how much you love of the program that you're sticking with. Money, man. Money trumps all. And yeah. I wouldn't care if Cincinnati jumped to the Big Ten. That program is not going to be able to open its wallet up like a bigger school will. I just think the money at some point, it's like Jimbo. Yeah. Look at Jimbo Fisher, man. He's the prime example. He had a Lamborghini at Florida State. And what took him away? Money. They offered A&M offered him a ridiculous amount of money to go to a program that was falling apart.
Yeah.
And he left. So, money, I think, is going to be the driving factor. And I get it. I'm sure he does
love the program.
Loves the ability to build a program, his own program. I mean, this could be a thing where he would be a legend at Cincinnati. Yeah. A legend, literally.
Well, I mean, you look at the 2 previous coaches for the team. Where did they go?
Big jobs.
Tennessee, Notre Dame. Yeah.
I think that's it's almost inevitable. Now, again, we don't know what teams are going to open up yet. No. So I agree. South Carolina now. No. That from what I've heard, they're pretty locked in right now on getting I forget his freaking name. Well, a smaller school. I just can't remember off the top of my head. This is killing me. Billy Napier from Louisiana. Okay. They're looking at. I think that's more than likely going to be the head coach of Tennessee or South Carolina.
Your 3 hottest prospects.
Tennessee's going to open up.
Well, I think probably the one thing that Fickle's really going to have to fight with if he stays at Cincinnati is keeping his offensive coordinator. Or is it his? Which one is it? I think it's his offensive coordinator.
It would have to be because their offense is what their pride and joy.
But your 3 big coaching fantasies out there are going to be Fickle,
Matt Campbell,
Venables, and Campbell. Yeah. That's it. And I don't see there being that many job openings this year.
I think there's going to...
At major programs. That would be able to pull those 3 guys.
I think there's going to be a lot. I think that you're going to see a big carousel open up this year. I'm not going to lie to you. I think the Michigan job... I'm still firm on that. I think the Michigan job's opening up this year. They're getting too much heat, dude. Yeah. I mean, at some point... The heat gets. I don't care how loyal you are. Look at Jerry Jones. The dude had a best friend as his head coach. I think Michigan's going to hold on to Jim Harbaugh to end this year, but that team is imploding between the players and the coaching staff
and the
fans, the media. The parents. I mean, you just had Kirk Herbstreit go on there and freaking blast. Dude, it's going to happen. He's gone. Either he's gone or either they fire him or it's going to be like some mutual. I personally think it'll be a mutual separation.
He's going to leave.
Break the contract.
He's going to leave.
Yes. I think he's gone. Yeah. I think it's
going to be a Tressel situation, essentially, where they're like, hey...
It's going to be a Tressel situation without the controversy.
Yeah. It's going to be like, hey, we love you in terms of Harbaugh. Thank you for what you've done, but we're going to politely ask you to leave.
Yeah. So... I think that job's for sure going to be open, but I think USC is going to be open. In my opinion. Yeah, Clay Helton's been on that hot seat for too long. He's been on the hot seat almost ever since he's been there. Yeah, and I understand that they're going to have a short season, but it's been something that's been talked about for a long time.
That would be a job I could see Campbell taking.
But I think
or Venables.
I think you're going to be looking at USC is going to be open. I think Tennessee is going to be open. Yeah.
After what they had, well, the only thing I think that could save him is the recruiting class that he's being able to pull.
That's falling apart right now.
Oh, you're right. It is.
Their 2 top commits just decommitted this past week.
Yeah, they did.
So that's why that's what held me back on Jeremy Pruitt because of his recruiting. But that recruiting class is starting to decommit left and right now. So, bye. He's gone. I mean, you've got those guys that have been perennial hot seat guys. Yeah. Gus Malzahn,
Franklin.
Yeah. Well, Franklin kind of. What helped Franklin was him bringing that program back from the ashes.
What saved him...
Even though I think he should be gone.
What saved him, the only reason he still has his job is the game-winning field goal against Ohio State. In 2016?
I've got another one, too. I'm not even done. Another big tool.
Who?
Nebraska.
Yeah.
I think Scott Frost is going to be gone, too.
Yeah. That's been a huge disappointment. Everybody...
I don't care if he's the poster boy of their...
coming from that UCF team, man, everybody thought that was going to go way better.
Yeah, I did. I was kind of nervous for Ohio State, man. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought he was going to be able to recruit Florida, because Ohio State's very good at recruiting Florida and Texas, and I thought he was going to be that pipeline for Florida.
Yeah.
And he and a little fun fact for you because I love how I brought that up subliminally. A fun fact for you: they had 5 players, and they were bigger players, commit last year from Florida. All 5 have transferring out this year. They're all gone. Because I know that because 3 of them picked Nebraska over Miami, and we said no, we don't want them back. So anyway, so that's like another thing. They're getting a lot of transfers out.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for it being his first year, Mike Norvell would be on the hot seat. But it's his first year COVID situation. Yeah. That team's falling. They just have I don't know if their former 5-star linebacker Woodbay, and he's freaking transferring out now.
And Ohio State fans are like, we don't want him. Well, do we? But he didn't pick us. But do we?
That's where and Miami fans do that too. We're like, man, he's a good player. Fuck Florida State. We just can't do it. He's Florida State. It's like he could literally have like God numbers, and we're like, yeah, but he played for Florida State.
But like for us, it's because he was committed to Ohio State.
Yeah, it was a battle between you guys and Florida State.
And so it's like, well,
that's how we were with half of Nebraska's transfers. They're like, we're looking to go there. Miami's just going, nah. So I think there's going to be a lot of, because teams have already shown that they don't really truly care about the COVID layoffs enough to buy out contracts, because there's still that heat, man. Mm-hmm. There's still a lot. You got to
perform.
Outside of, I know I wanted to talk the big 3, but I think the Cincinnati one was the one because they've got the most intriguing game. I think Miami blows out Duke. I think we're going to come back. Michigan State, even if you guys play that game, that's going to be
the one thing to look for in the Michigan State Ohio State game. Last week's game against Illinois, Ohio State was planning on getting into a deeper rotation with the young guys in the secondary. So getting some of those high-level recruits and getting them game time and seeing what they do, because obviously it hasn't performed up to expectation.
No, the secondary needs to improve.
So expect a lot of new faces in the Ohio State secondary this week.
Yeah. And news for Miami would be Savion Collins finally decommitted from us last night. Finally. We've been wanting him to decommit for months. He's one of the Palmetto 5. He's the other defensive tackle next to Leonard Taylor.
Okay.
I mean, dude, Andrew Ivins, he's the big Miami insider for recruiting. Dude, I've been listening to this guy since August, and he's been going, Savion Collins isn't going to be in this class. Like, face it now, he's not going to be in this class. And he's literally ridden with us, and literally every week, every time they talk about recruiting numbers and stuff, they're like, oh, well, that spot's going to open up. That spot's going to open up. So then when he decommitted, Florida fans started going in like, oh, you guys just lost Savion Collins. We're like, dude, that's old news. We've known that since August. So he finally decommitted. 2 big targets opened up. I was just talking about Tennessee. Their 4-star corner and 5-star linebacker, they both decommitted. One of them is a big Miami target. One's a wish list. A wish list is Terrence Lewis, the linebacker, top linebacker in the country. From what I've heard, a lot of fans were optimistic when he first decommitted. But rumor mill right now, Auburn's the team to beat. And then A&M's really high on his recruitment right now. Miami's pretty much not even looking into him. The off-the-field stuff with him is just too much.
Yeah.
We're going through culture change. We just don't want to bring toxic players no matter the talent. So hopefully that pass doesn't come to hurt us. And then I can't remember his name, McGee. I think his last name is McGee. He's a corner decommitted from Tennessee. He's number 1 on our cornerback list right now. We got to get him. So hopefully we make a good push for him. It could, from what I've heard, that's going to come down between us and A&M. Okay. So that's the Miami news. Hopefully we beat Duke. Usually a sleeper team. They suck this year. I'm not too worried about it, even after 3 weeks off. But what's got you dialed up, man? I know the house hunt hasn't. I know it's been kind of dialing you guys down, but
I don't even know what's got me dialed up. I'm at a fucking quarantine. I know that much. The house hunt has been a pain in the ass. We put in 5 different offers now. Went into contract once. Had to terminate that because of the inspection. Had the best offer on one house. Got beat out because the homeowner or the sellers knew one of the other people that put in an offer that was worse than ours, and they still accepted that one over ours. We got beaten out on price on 3 different other ones. So and now the market's drying up. It's getting into winter. Nobody wants to move during the winter. So I don't know what the hell's happening on it. Good news it looks like I'm going to start getting more hours at work, so more money in my pocket. There you go. That's what's got me
dialed up. He's dialed up for work to work more. I would be dialed up to work less, but I continue.
All I do is sit on my ass. It's not like I do much.
Well, I'm still dialed up about a football reason, but it ain't the Canes. I'm dialed up about my Pittsburgh Steelers, man.
Fuck you.
Sorry, I know. I'm dialed up, man. 11-0. I haven't seen our team play like this in the regular season before, so it's great to finally
barely squeaking out a win against Trace McSorley.
11-0. That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Trace McSorley.
It's 2020. I don't give a damn what anyone. 11-0. 11-0. Okay, I don't care. Top of the NFL. That's all that matters. But
hey, you got to come home with that Lombardi trophy. That's all that matters.
Hopefully we do. It'd only be our seventh. So hopefully we are able to pull that off for the seventh time.
You know what I'd love to see? Green Bay,
Steelers,
and just us kicking your ass.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
No, not this year, man.
A-Rod is going to get another one.
I don't think he's going to get there.
He's going to get a second. He's going to beat out Favre.
I don't think he'll be there.
He's going to beat out Favre.
I love Aaron Rodgers though, but
he's a dude.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Except he can't chug a beer, but it's okay. It's okay. Neither can I, so I can't hate on him too much.
His interviews on the Pat McAfee show are fucking gold.
Dude, his interviews on anything are fucking gold. He is. I love that man, and
awesome.
I don't hate the Packers, but they're not one of my favorite teams. But I like Aaron Rodgers.
No, but the only reason I hate the Steelers is because
everybody hates. If you don't love the Steelers, you hate the Steelers.
The only reason I hate the Steelers is because of all of the Ohio Pittsburgh fans. Bitch, you're from Ohio. You aren't from Pennsylvania. Get with the program.
It doesn't matter.
Where are you from?
Hold on. Hold it.
Pittsburgh Penguins fans.
Hold it. I want to hold it here because we're from Columbus and he's a Green Bay fan. So what the fuck?
I grew up. I started playing football when I was 4 years old.
In Wisconsin?
No.
I
played for the.
I don't care.
I played for the Packers, and Favre was the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers, and I fell in love.
I don't care because I'm a Steelers fan because my dad was a Steelers fan, and I've grown up in a Steelers and Browns household. Now, granted, I was a Browns fan up until the third grade, and they traded Quincy Morgan to the Steelers, and I became a Steelers fan.
I'm not questioning your. Like I said, the thing.
No, but that logic makes no sense because look, here you are. You are what's wrong with that argument.
No, because that's not the portion of the argument. It's not about where you're from. It's about how fucking obnoxious the Ohio portion of the Steeler fan base is.
I mean, do you blame it though? I mean, look at the Ohio teams to choose from.
Well, I mean, I guess it's probably just Ohio fans because Ohio State fans are obnoxious as fuck anyway too.
He's not wrong. Ohio State fans are pretty bad,
but I don't have a problem with Steeler fans as a whole, but just that Ohio subset, they get on my nerves, man. They get on my nerves. I mean, the team I hate most is Cincinnati.
It's
the
closest good NFL team. Really good NFL team.
As much as we like to support these guys, I fucking hate their city.
I hate the fucking Bengals.
Yeah, fuck that
city.
Sorry,
I fucking hate the Bengals, dude.
I hate the city. Dude,
sorry, Luke. I hate to break it to you. Shocker.
Going to college, I was going down to Lindsey Wilson. And it took me 5 hours to get from Kings Island to the river.
To drive through Cincinnati?
Yeah.
My bus. So
fucking brutal.
When I was in the Army, we went to our 2-week AT in Kentucky, and we were driving back through Cincinnati. Downtown Cincinnati bus broke down in the middle of the summer. No air conditioning.
9 o'clock at night, driving home from Lindsey Wilson. I-71 shut down. No reason. I had to go through downtown Cincinnati, which is a clusterfuck, by the way. Go by Xavier, or not Xavier, but
Xavier's a little further north, I think.
No, I had whichever, because it's Butler, that's Indiana. It was Xavier. I had to drive through their fucking campus and divert. I had my mom and dad on the phone, Google mapping me through this fucking maze of a city, just trying to get back on I-71. Which was, I fucking hate that city so much. You aren't Ohio, you're Kentucky. Fuck you, Cincinnati.
And Michigan, you can take Toledo.
Yes.
So anyway, I don't know why we went to war with you guys for that, but anyway,
we should have
just let you guys keep it. If only they saw it. If only they saw the future.
The only good thing, the only thing that's better about that Toledo subset. That's better about that piece of land than Michigan is that it has better roads because ODOT takes care of it.
So anyway, we're gonna try to get a little more active on social media. With us being kind of separated and the issues we've had getting recording, it's been kind of difficult to keep the social media going. We've been kind of in a rut because of this guy's quarantine.
I'm always on my LW_TV Twitter account, so I'm always on there, but not too much on the actual podcast. But the individual Twitter account, always on it. The other guys active on Instagram, pretty much. But in terms of social media, that's kind of where we're active the most at.
We're gonna try to get back into a constant content update. So hopefully we'll be a little more active. Bear with us. 2020 has been rough on all of us, work schedules included. Yeah. So
trying to get more less mundane and recappy with the content as well.
Yeah, we're if you notice today we skipped no recap. We're just gonna hit the important stuff. And plus it helps us kind of just sit and talk and be a little more natural. So but give us some feedback. Let us know what you like, what you didn't like. If this was too boring, all that jazz. Railroad us. We don't care. We're not soft. I'll probably talk shit to you. Huh?
You said railroad us. You really?
Dude, I was in the Army. I got trained for 6 years. So, anyway, hit us on our social media accounts. We'll hit the description, or links in the description. Just bear with us. Please drop comments. Share us around.
Before we leave, I did, for those that are watching...
Oh, he wants to just show... There's only one he really wants to show off.
There have been some new additions to the team, okay? And there's 2 more on the way. So, University of Houston, University of Tulsa, welcome to the club. Tulsa, Cincinnati, we're going to put you two, for game day. We're going to have you guys head to head.
Here it is.
But Mr. Military Man himself would like to present this one. This is the one I'm happiest about.
Even though Army will beat you guys. Here you go. Look at that.
Oh, she's a beauty.
That is a pretty helmet. It's going to look real good when we beat you guys. But
the collection is coming together, baby.
How many more to go?
Roundabouts 50, I think.
Roundabouts 50. How about that?
So, getting closer every day. Like I said, 2 more on the way. But thank y'all. We appreciate you. Hit us up on social media. Follow, subscribe, wherever you are listening or watching. We love you. Appreciate the support.
It's all about you, baby.
Go Bucks.